Is Jazz Chisholm Jr. the most overrated player in Major League Baseball? The players think so, but what do I think? Tons to get into. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, firstly, happy Monday. Welcome to the show. Make sure you hit subscribe and leave a review. This podcast is available everywhere you get your pods, and this is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen. Reminder on the YouTube channel, it's also called Locked On Marlins. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube. Particularly join me in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this one in particular. This has got people talking. It's got people thinking. Is Jazz Chisholm Jr. the most overrated player in Major League Baseball right now? Boy, oh boy, that is going to get... It's a topical one, no doubt about it. Tons to pick up over the weekend. Also, as you can sense, probably by my voice, like there's a husky voice going on here. It's been a long weekend in London. 2 games, the Mets and Phillies. I've got the scouting report for the Mets. No doubt about it, but some fun baseball action in London. And frankly, the short description is these series just keep getting better and better and better. The UK is nailing it. This episode is sponsored by our good friends over at FanDuel, and you can make every moment more right now. New customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And where are we starting today? It's the only place to start. It's the news. I say news. There's a poll that's been worked through, let's say. 59 players have given their feedback, it seems, around various topics, but the topic that's definitely buzzed probably the most is most overrated player. Jazz Chisholm Jr. acquiring just over 20% of the vote. I don't know who's been asked, but I'm 100% certain that Miguel Rojas has been asked for his feedback on this one. I think it's Miguel Rojas and friends that have given their views. Nevertheless, Jazz Chisholm Jr. comes out on top of the poll in a distant second. Anthony Rendon is second, Carlos Correa third, and then Tim Anderson in fourth. The Marlins have 2 of the most overrated players according to active players. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, okay, it's only 59 of them. Boy, oh boy. You know, how do we start in this one, particularly for me? And you guys know my feelings on Jazz. So let me just start and let me just put it out there. Firstly, to be overrated, like there has to be a degree of like rating of Jazz, right? To be overrated, how is someone overrated? And who is the guiding light on that? Who's the guiding principle about the ratingness? I get it. Jazz Chisholm Jr. fully backs himself. He totally believes that there is a stud MVP caliber guy within him. I'm all for that. I've got no problems. Let me know. Do you have a problem with that? With Jazz Chisholm Jr. believing that there is that ability, there is that production inside of him? I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? For me, if I'm looking to build it like a team, I'm looking to get guys in that truly believe in themselves and equally that have the desire to continue to get better. Jazz Chisholm Jr. believes on ability, and I think this is a really interesting wrinkle with Jazz. So, I'm a believer in Jazz and I absolutely love the dude. And as a fan, I love watching Jazz because he's truly electric. He's a game changer. He's a difference maker. When Jazz is, he affects the game in all of the ways. When he's in the batter's box, when he's on the bases, when he's in center field, everything. Jazz is affecting the game in a positive way. No doubt about it. So when we think about Jazz and that self-belief, and I'm all for that, something that Skip Schumacher said, it was on the Fish on First pod recently, actually, talking about Jazz. And saying about he historically has relied on talent. Jazz has always been the most talented guy in any team that he's been on. He then gets to the big leagues and still relied on, this is kind of paraphrasing Skip here a touch, but I understand and I can agree with this too. He effectively looks to just out-talent everyone. I'm just going to rely on the natural talent and just see where that gets me. And what we've seen with that is Jazz isn't a million miles off. Like, he is absolutely right up there in terms of talent. But this is the interesting thing that Skip calls out is Jazz is now starting to learn the game. He's now starting to get away from just, I'm just going to out-talent everyone. If that's even English. Is that English? I don't think it is, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to then apply knowledge, etc., into it and piece that together. And then that becomes a serious player by combining both natural talent, gamesmanship, understanding, all of those aspects that go into it. And so, listen, Jazz is on an upward curve. I've spoken about him on this pod multiple times for many years. And I think this rings true. This is what I'm seeing with my eyes. He rocks up. You see flashes with Jazz. You've always seen flashes, and it's there. You've then got a guy this season that, to me, is miles better than we've ever seen from Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's also healthy, remain healthy. He's been an Iron Man. He's been out there like every day in center field. What I have to say as well, just one topic on center field for Jazz. Recently, there's been a few collisions with that chain link fence out in Lone Depot. It's the same chain link fence that he had the turf toe injury that's obviously now covered with padding, but it gets you thinking, why the hell is there some ridiculous chain link fence out in center field, like left center? Like, I get it. There's a need to have advertising, etc., to drive revenue because, well, Bruce Sherman is interested in that. But a chain link fence with a concrete slab underneath that doesn't sound very sensible. Jazz is kind of throwing himself into this chain link fence, and it's an accident waiting to happen. Can we do something about the chain link fence? Can we get that just replaced with something? Just a padded fence. Spray on the ads that you need. And I get it. Every ad revenue is a big part of sports. Trust me, I can speak firsthand of that. But I mean, it feels like malpractice. It feels like there's a lack of duty of care. Like a chain link fence. It's an injury waiting to happen. And you got your best guy out there running into this chain link fence, every couple of days? Seems like madness. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand here with Jazz being overrated. Firstly, who has rated him? I understand that Jazz has, but has anyone else kind of actively spoken out to say, we believe that Jazz is at this level? Like, he's just a young dude, really, learning the game. I think when you boil this down, it comes down to Jazz is a very extremely marketable dude because from the Bahamas, has the swag, has the talk, has everything going. Like, the complete opposite in many ways to, I don't know, a Freddie Freeman, for example. Like, not to knock Freddie Freeman is one hell of a baseball player, but man, oh man, it's tough to market that dude, I think, right? Just kind of lacks swag. When you basically are a grown-up version of Buzz from Home Alone 1, it's tough to sell that. But with Jazz, a young, black, athletic dude from the Bahamas, chains, stolen bags, flare outfits. I mean, you can see why MLB wants to jump all aboard the Jazz Chisholm hype train. I get it. Major League Baseball has had a huge issue for years in their lack of ability to market players correctly. Even like Mike Trout, I know, Trouty's back on the IL at the moment, but Trout had a period where he was, like, without question, the best player in the game. And barely anyone knew what Mike Trout looked like. I mean, come on. What's going on? Right now, I would say that, you show a picture of Jazz, more people are going to know who Jazz Chisholm Jr. is than Mike Trout, which is crazy, right? But it's down to the marketing aspects of this. And so I think this is the deep rooted part of this where, because of Jazz, his upbringing, his profile, everything around it, there's been a degree of marketing that's gone into Jazz. Is that the reason why he's overrated? Is that why he's held to account? Yes, he's been on the cover of a popular, baseball game, cover athlete, but frankly, are you going to put Freddie Freeman on the front of that game? No, you're not. No one's buying into Freddie Freeman, and he's not really sellable. He isn't, unless you want a glorified singles hitter. I mean, we've seen enough of them, but I think this is kind of at the root with this Jazz Chisholm overrated situation. Is he's been on the cover, so all of a sudden he's held to a degree of, well, he must be an MVP caliber player, like in terms of actual production. And I get it. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has not, within a one season spell, put up that level of production. He never has. Right now, we're seeing, in my opinion, pretty much the most rounded, best version of Jazz there's been. He was an all-star back in 22 at second base. He had that, great start of the season. But for me, this year, he looks much more of a complete player. He's still improving. He's still improving. Everything's going in the right way. Strikeouts down, walks up, power still there, stolen bags, center field improving. He's doing it all. He's doing it all. So Jazz being positioned as the most overrated guy is just wildly inaccurate. Wildly inaccurate. And I get it. He may not be putting up Acuna-level numbers like that we saw from Ronald Acuna last year. However, I mean, what we saw from Ronald Acuna this year was the decline of that. Like, once you get to a level in baseball, it's hard to sustain it. There's such a high degree of luck associated with baseball. There frankly is. And with that, the season variance is wild. For Jazz, all we've asked is to stay on the field. He knows it. I know it. Everyone knows it. This year, Jazz is on the field every single day, even though there's a chain link fence out there, which I think is probably a bad idea. Nevertheless, he's out there every day. He's in many ways having his best season. Yes, he hasn't maybe quite hit the heights of the 7-WAR campaign yet, but he's trending in the right direction. Is Jazz the most overrated player in Major League Baseball? Not a chance. Not even close. Because when I think about how you rate a player, for me, you have to look at the compensation that teams have invested into them and then measure them against that compensation. Right now, Jazz, he's in ARB1. He's paid what he's paid. The Marlins didn't think he was owed whatever it was, $2 million or whatever. The Marlins haggled him down. You weren't on the field enough. You go and look at guys that have come out of that and have free agent contracts. That is how those clubs rated them. Number 2 on the list, Anthony Rendon. Huge contract, no production. I mean, doesn't even want to play the game. I mean, Anthony Rendon should have been a landslide winner in this poll. I don't know what it says about the players that were asked the question, but Jazz was first in overrated significantly, and Rendon was second. I mean, what does that even say about how players think about the game right now? How they think about the variance between Anthony Rendon, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Jazz striving to be out there every day, wanting to put up a 7-WAR campaign. Rendon that basically wants to retire, has effectively retired multiple years ago. Like, they are not the same. Rendon is by far, the most overrated guy because the Angels valued him at a certain dollar value and he's come nowhere near that. The Angels fumbled that one. Disgraceful signing. Disgraceful. Of course, the Marlins won't make that mistake. I mean, they misvalued Avisel Garcia. He's more overrated than Jazz Chisholm Jr. But man, oh man, funny, it's a funny discourse topic. It's a fun conversation about who is the most overrated player. With Jazz Chisholm Jr., it comes down to the guy was on the cover of a sports game. And for that reason, he's measured at a level way above what he's ever put up. Yes, Jazz strives to get up there, but I love that. I love the fact that Jazz Chisholm Jr. wants to be an MVP. And he wants to be paid like it as well in the back end of this. I love that. Keep striving. Keep trying to be better. And we're seeing it. Jazz is actively improving week on week. We see it. Well, you watch the Marlins when you watch them. I didn't watch anything over this weekend because I was in London. But every time something good happens, Jazz is in the mix. The only highlights I saw this weekend was a Jazz. He absolutely demolished the ball. Demolished in a way that no one else can. Jazz is this Marlins offense. He's the only bright spot, fundamentally. The only other bright spot has just been optioned to AAA. We're going to talk about that in a second. Xavier Edwards finally made it back healthy, finally recalled, and already optioned. We're going to talk about that decision and what it means and why straight after the break. Before we do that, it's time to let you know about our good friends, firstly, over at SupplyHouse. Yes, sir. And guys, you can get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with the fastest shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. And this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. And guys, right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. You can bet it all on FanDuel. Yes, that's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bag a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, on Monday, the 10th of June. Not going to lie, jaded and hungover from a stunning London series. I'm going to talk about the London series in another episode very soon. I had to, though, hop on and get into this Jazz Chisholm Jr. overrated news. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is Jazz Chisholm Jr. actually overrated? Who's overrating him? Are the fans? I mean, Marlins fans are always going to hope the best for their players. But is it unfair? Is this unfair? Is it down to the show cover? Is it because Jazz has been on the cover that he is expected to be an MVP player? Is that the problem? Could he be an MVP player? Who is the most overrated? Is Anthony Rendon or is it someone else? Let me know your thoughts. What I want to talk about now is Xavier Edwards in particular. Xavier Edwards was recalled this weekend and straight away was slotted into the leadoff spot. Played, I think, in every game this weekend. Was pretty, I mean, listen, the Marlins offense after that first game, not much happened. But Xavier Edwards, he's already demonstrated what he can do at AAA. He then comes up straight at shortstop, looked fine at short, looks good. The Marlins need a short. There's a problem there, etc., etc. You then get the roster moves today. Tim Anderson back off the bereavement list. Prayers up for Big TA. There was a bit of a shocking graphic, I would say, that was put up. I think it was John Boy that decided to make the announcement that Tim Anderson had gone onto the bereavement list with like a full graphic, like it was some sort of like major roster move or a trade. Like it was pretty distasteful, I would say, from like it didn't need Tim Anderson onto the bereavement list graphic. Like it was a big roster move. Like anyway, distasteful, I would say, from John Boy. However, prayers up for TA. I don't know the situation, but he's back. He missed the series, but he's back. And we've spoken plenty about TA, about what is his role? All you have to do is go and listen to Craig Mish. Craig, as we know, plumbed into this. We know how it's playing out. TA is going to be left in there to, even though he's stinking it up, which the production hasn't been there. We get it. The effort is there. Fine. But TA, he's going to be given more time. He's going to be in there until the deadline, more likely. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. So he's back. So's Otto Lopez as well off the paternity list. So both the infield guys back. Xavier Edwards and Gray, both optioned. The thing is, at this point, the Marlins, I think, like Xavier Edwards. I think they, there's a lot of Luis Arias in there in terms of the profile. I said that last year when we saw, Xavier Edwards. Like, you could kind of see it. Like, there's definitely an Arias profile. Defensively, though, things, I think, look more encouraging. And so I think that's a real interesting situation here from a Marlins perspective. But here's the thing, guys. For whatever we want to say about Xavier Edwards, what he's shown at AAA, what he's got left to prove, guys, it doesn't matter. The Marlins aren't making roster decisions right now based on trying to win games in 2024. They're not. So it isn't about, well, Xavier Edwards is ready. Tim Anderson's terrible. We should move on. That's not how this is working, guys. No roster decisions are being made in that way. We've already seen the Marlins, Max Meyer put up a career performance against the Braves. Yes, and the Braves back then, the offense was actually good. Now, putrid. But back then, the offense was good. Max Meyer shut them. Maybe that's why the Braves went on this downward spiral. They got absolutely handled by Max Meyer. But he's then optioned. He's not optioned because he's not ready. He's optioned because right now the Marlins and this model that they operate within, they know the season's cooked. There's no point using the service time clock on any of the guys that aren't on the roster right now. Max Meyer's one. Xavier Edwards is another one. He's a guy, by him being optioned and him being left down at AAA for however long it may be, what that says to me, and will say to you and say to everyone, is the Marlins rate Xavier Edwards. They rate Max Meyer. They believe that it's likely they're going to get into arbitration years with the Marlins. And so what they're trying to do is to delay that. They're trying to delay when they get to arbitration because they want them to be on league minimum for as long as possible while their window is nowhere near open. And this year, season's cooked. You've paid $5 million to Tim Anderson. He's going to play. When he's finished, when he's moved on in the summer, if not before, Xavier Edwards will come up. Less service time, more years of control. This is what the Marlins are looking for. It has nothing to do with, are they ready? Do they have anything to prove at AAA? They don't. But it's not about that. Nothing at all. The one thing we should be excited about is Xavier Edwards looks like he could be an average to good big league player. There's some flaws in there, I would say, no doubt. He's not going to be hitting for power. The defense is a question mark. We've seen it before. But look how much we fell in love with Luis Arias. I'm not saying Xavier Edwards will get to Arias' level, but that type of profile, as we've seen, can be super impactful. Super impactful. And again, the Marlins making the moves they've made, to me, says they think that Xavier Edwards has a shot. They think that he could be good. They think he could be a part of the next wave of this organization. And they want to keep the cost down now, keep the control as long as they can until this team gets back around to being okay in 27, 28, 29, whatever that time period is. I don't know. Let's hit the final ads. I want to talk about Avisail Garcia. Clears waivers has been released, but there was some very interesting Skip Schumacher comments on the Fish on First pod. So I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Before we do that, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at LinkedIn. Yes, sir. And if you're struggling to close deals, B2B selling is tougher than ever. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I use this product every single day, apart from Saturday and Sunday in the main. But LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenues, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. So right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. All right, guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Joining me, Peter Pratt, on Monday, the 10th of June. The voice is struggling. It's been a long weekend, a fun one. A lot of beers were consumed equally. The Pims was back. The Pims carts were back. MLB, Europe, London Stadium, whoever it was, they heard the outcries from last year. No Pims. What the hell? Pims was back. My good wife, Tara, Mrs. Pratt, was guzzling Pims. So was I. It was glorious. Glorious. We're going to cover the London series in more detail later this week. I had to dig into Jazz Chisholm Jr. being overrated, voted by his peers. Miguel Rojas and his boys, overrated, according to them. Jazz Chisholm Jr. Xavier Edwards has been optioned, even though he clearly has nothing left to prove in AAA. But until the roster changes significantly, Xavier Edwards will remain down in AAA, much like Max Meyer. These guys, they're guys that the Marlins believe in, feel like they could get to arbitration, feel like they could accrue that amount of service time with this organization. Thus, they pause the service clock while the season's cooked. Leave Tim Anderson there. It is what it is. Avisail Garcia. Let's finish up this conversation. Avisail Garcia. This may be the last time I speak about Avisail. Actually, no, it won't be the last time because he'll probably sign on somewhere. I think he'll sign with the Braves. And I think he'll end up like being a platoon impact bat for the Braves somehow, some way. I don't know, but this is one of the last times I'm going to talk about Avisail Garcia. Firstly, on the administrative side, Avisail Garcia clears waivers. Stunner, I know. Clears waivers. No one wanted to claim Avisail Garcia. They wouldn't have to give up any prospect capital. No, nothing. You take Avi, you pay his money, free. Well, not free. You have to pay his money. No takers, no surprises. He then was not sent down to AAA. No. The Marlins decide to release Avisail Garcia. That's the end of Avisail Garcia with the Marlins. He walks away with the rest of his guaranteed money. So I just want to go back to Skip Schumacher joining the guys on Fish on First. Firstly, I love those guys. I love the guys they're getting on the show as well. That's the second time Skip's been on. Love the fact they've got that connection with Skip. Great to hear from Skip. Super open, super honest information from Skip Schumacher. Loved it. Particularly loved a question that Eli put to him about, have you seen anything on Twitter you thought was a good idea and then decided to implement? He answered that straight up, no, which was absolutely glorious. I think maybe where Eli was getting, I think if Eli would have said, listen, have you seen a suggestion from Loud Marlins fan that you agree with and decided to actually implement it? I think he'd have asked it that. You'd still had the same answer, actually, but it would have been funnier. Nevertheless, Skip Schumacher spoke about Avisail Garcia. And the one thing that he emphasized in great deal was the relationship with Avisail Garcia, specifically, and Skip Schumacher, saying that he actually, he really liked Avisail Garcia as a person. Couldn't knock him as a person. He's always been they've always had a good connection there on that front. And I think it's really interesting because the Marlins fans, like myself, we don't know Avisail Garcia, and actually we didn't really get time to really know and meet Avisail Garcia. He signed his deal. He started the season poorly and really never recovered. We covered this in tons of detail on the show. He never recovered with that. It felt like the Marlins kind of hid him away for the rest of that. We never really got the chance to like fully meet, know, and understand who Avisail Garcia is. Like I mentioned, I remember when he was going through these slumps, like we never heard anything from him. And really listening to Skip, it feels like a bit of a, it's a shame because there's maybe a guy there that, and listen, they've tried it enough with Sixto, where Sixto was like, unseen for years, and they tried this PR campaign. Like, maybe they should have invested more time into Avisail Garcia, building the PR around Avi. I don't know. But I thought it was great to hear from Skip, just laying it out there. Avi's always been good to me. I like Avi as a person. It hasn't worked out. We've decided we're going to go with some of the younger guys and we're going to move on. Fair enough. Like, the production hasn't warranted the roster spot for a number of years. They've persevered in the end. And Avisail, he called it out to say he was told what his role would be. He didn't like that. He accepted it, though, and he moved on. And actually was like, he was okay in that short side platoon. It wasn't like completely disastrous. But I thought it was just like a really insightful piece from Skip that it seems like within the clubhouse, in his teammates, they liked Avi. And the reflection within Marlins Twitter is completely the opposite. No one really has anything positive to say about Avisail Garcia. A, because they don't know him personally. They don't know his personality because it's been shielded from us. And secondly, the most important thing is he's been an absolute bust on the field. There's no hiding from that. Avi wanted to do well. I messaged Danny Alvarez and said, Danny, like, what's gone on? Like, what's happened with Avi? I don't know. He doesn't know. He's been trying. He wants to do well. It hasn't worked. Crazy. But with that being said, Avisail Garcia released. I think in some ways from Marlins fans, we can just kind of like take a step back now from that. It didn't work out. Complete bust. There was definitely some bad PR, particularly around coming in heavy, overweight, in the early stages of a career. I think he addressed that as things went on. He definitely didn't let it slide again. But, he clearly went through struggles. But I feel with Skip Schumacher's like endorsement almost, I feel differently about Avisail Garcia after that. And like I said, I feel like it's been a missed opportunity from the Marlins to help the fans know more about Avi. Maybe I've missed it. I don't know. But I struggle to remember any kind of like any of that fan-based connection that Avisail Garcia or the Marlins tried to facilitate with the fans so they could meet him, understand him, and start to pull for the guy. It feels different when you just get a guy that comes in as a free agent, signs a bumper deal, and then stinks it up. There's no backstory, there's no history, there's no nothing. It's just Avi comes in, stinks it up. It's a poor foundation for the fan base. Should be more PR. We should know more about Avi. We should get to know him more. The more you know someone, the more you'll actively pull for them. Yes, we're all fans of the club. We want the team to do well. But I feel like that was the missing link with Avisail Garcia, with the Marlins fan base anyway. Whether maybe the Marlins don't care. Maybe Avi didn't care. I don't know. But looking back on it, it felt like a missed opportunity. We turned the page now on the Avisail Garcia career with the Marlins. It ended up, it was a bust. These free agent situations, they can be busts, no doubt. I'm interested to see what Avi does. And frankly, I wish him the best. Like I said, I feel slightly differently about him after that Skip Schumacher interview. Nevertheless, guys, we've run long. I appreciate you making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. It's good to be back. Apologies, the episodes have been a little bit sketchy around this London series. Plenty of travel the last few days, but I'm back. We're going to look ahead to this Mets series the next couple of days. I've had eyeballs on Mets this weekend and the Mets fan base, which has been very fun and enlightening as well. So we're going to cover some London series stuff. I also need to talk about, the topic I didn't get into today, which is Ryan Weathers onto the IL. My guy, Ryan Weathers, on the IL. Rosario Munoz up. Loves giving up bombs. So we're going to talk about that as we get into the week as well. So guys, I bid you farewell. Jazz Chisholm Jr. shouldn't be the most overrated player in Major League Baseball. Not a chance, not even close to that. Xavier Edwards is ready, but Tim Anderson's going to hold it down for now. Avisail Garcia released. We turned the page on Avi. We wish him well. We'll look forward to seeing you guys soon.